Over 2 years ago I made an in-depth handstand tutorial, so now I'm going to do the same for the handstand push-up. Okay, let's start with two things which most people already know: hand position and hand rotation. Let's just briefly go over them and continue with the more serious stuff. Alright, hand positioning. There's two main ways of placing your hands when doing handstand push-ups. One is hands exactly shoulder width and elbows bending in this direction. The other is hands wider than your shoulders with the elbows bending to the sides. Long story short, the wider hands reduce the range of motion, and bending your elbows to the side uses your pushing power most efficiently. But since that makes the handstand push-ups easier, it won't stimulate the most amount of bent arm pushing strength. When you keep your arms closer to the body and your elbows bend like this, you have to lean a lot more, which makes it harder. Also, there's more range of motion, therefore you will stimulate a lot more growth in strength. In the beginning I used the wide grip, but now I only use the narrow one, so we could say that as a beginner you can use the wide grip and not feel guilty about it. Still, the choice is yours. So we covered arm positioning, but arm rotation is also important. There's fingers completely forward, completely sideways, and in between. I don't recommend using the fingers completely sideways rotation if you're a beginner, because it's easy to lose the balance. With fingers completely forward, you are very stable and it's the most efficient rotation for push-ups. So if your goal is to only get strong at handstand push-ups, you can use it. But it's a lot harder with planche presses. When doing tuck planche presses to handstand, the in-between rotation is much better, because with the presses your wrists will be stretched a lot more, and if you don't have the mobility you will have to compensate by rotating the arms. So if you want to learn tuck planche presses, you should probably start using the in-between rotation for handstand push-ups as well, even though the completely forward fingers is the most efficient for push-ups. You should experiment with wall-supported handstand push-ups to see exactly what the differences between the hand positions and hand rotations are. Now I don't know why, but almost every time I see wall-supported handstand push-ups on the internet, they always put both feet on the wall. That's a mistake, because you will most likely arch your back. It's much better to only use one leg as a support, so you can keep the rest of your body nice and straight. Let's continue with the prerequisite. Most of the time we hear that we need to be able to hold at least a 30 seconds handstand before we try push-ups, but that's not enough. You should also be able to hold the bottom position of the handstand for about 20 seconds. The bottom position requires much more power to hold and will be a great addition to the handstand push-ups prerequisite, because it's the hardest part of the push-up. If you can hold a handstand at the top for a long time but not at the bottom, you can follow this routine. 3 holds of bottom position handstand with 3 to 5 minutes of rest between holds, and then 3 holds of normal handstand at the top with 2 to 3 minutes of rest. You can repeat this routine after 1 or 2 days of rest, and every time try increasing the seconds on the bottom handstand. If you're consistent with this and get into the rhythm of repeating this routine after 1 or 2 days of rest, you should be able to increase your bottom position handstand to 20, 25 or even 30 seconds in about a month or 2. Before moving on, I just want to say that the lower you go with your body, the harder the bottom position will be. You don't need to go as low as me. I always seem to lower my body way too much, which isn't bad, but because you're still just learning, it's realistic to keep your body more vertical instead of diagonal. When you are able to hold a 20, 25 or even 30 seconds bottom handstand, you are ready to move on. Now that you are able to hold the top and the bottom handstand for a long time, don't expect to become a master at handstand push-ups just yet. These are the two things that kept me from mastering the handstand push-up for a long time, even though I might have had enough strength to perform a lot of reps. The first one is self-explanatory. Going too slow while trying to do handstand push-ups is something I see all the beginners doing. The reason we do it is because it's hard for us to keep the balance in the beginning, but unfortunately you will have to learn to relax a little bit and not be so tense. Otherwise you will have an incredibly frustrating time trying to reach those really impressive 8, 9 or 10 reps of handstand push-ups. However, if you do choose to continue doing them slowly and you actually achieve 8, 9 or 10 reps while doing the push-ups slowly, you will have built a lot more power than most practitioners of handstand push-ups. I mean, I can barely do 3 or 4 slow handstand push-ups, but when I do them faster, on average I get 8 to 10 reps. So that's one thing you might want to think about the next time you practice your handstand push-ups. The second thing is that I kept forgetting that the handstand position itself is more balanced when we keep our shoulder in front of the palm. And this would make me lose my balance. What I did at first was, as I was going up, I would try to get my shoulder aligned with my palms, and I would lose my balance very quickly after 3 or 4 reps. You will make it easier for yourself in the beginning if you make a conscious effort in keeping the shoulders in front of your palms when you are going to the top. You may have noticed that the bottom position of the handstand doesn't require a lot of balance to hold, it's mostly strength. And the reason for that is that the shoulder is always in front of the palms. That's just how the biomechanics of the human body work in a handstand. The more your shoulders are in front of your palms, the more balanced you're going to be. If you apply this to the top position by leaning forward a little bit and keep your shoulder in front of your palm, you will be able to keep your balance much better and you will be able to get higher reps on the handstand push-up. Once you get better at those, then if you want, you can start performing straight handstands at the top of the handstand push-up. However, just because we are breaking the straight line through the shoulders, that doesn't mean that we should also break the straight line through the lower back. This is the infamous arching, also known as the banana handstand. It's the easiest position to do push-ups in, because not only do you have your shoulders in front of your palms, which takes care of the balance, but you also arch the back, which moves the weight of your legs closer to your shoulder and arms, which reduces the strength required to hold the position. When I was learning handstand push-ups, I would constantly arch. Even later on, when I got better at handstand push-ups, I still arched a little bit. When I decided to never arch again, the difference was like day and night. The most handstand push-ups I've done with an arched back are 12. I've even done 10 handstand push-ups with 5 kilograms while having an arched back. But the most amount of push-ups I've done ever with a straight back is 5. That right there should tell you how much more difficult it is to keep a straight back. If I were you, I wouldn't make the mistake of spending too much time practicing arched back handstand push-ups. I probably spent about 2 years doing mostly arched back handstand push-ups when I could have stopped after my third or fourth month of practicing handstand push-ups. Maybe it's okay in the beginning, but later on, as you get better, you should immediately switch to only straight back handstand push-ups. Still, the choice is yours. When I was a beginner, the routine I followed was 3 sets of freestanding handstand push-ups and 3 sets of wall-supported handstand push-ups. I would take 3 to 5 minutes of rest between sets, and the goal was to progress to 10 reps on each set for a total of 60 reps. Then I would finish my workout with 3 sets of dips and 3 supersets of regular push-ups and triceps extensions. But because I wasn't paying attention to the problems I mentioned earlier, it took me over a year to achieve my goal. Okay, before I end the video, I promised to include some tips about the tuck planche press to handstand. So first of all, as a prerequisite, you have to hold a 30 seconds tuck planche and be able to breathe fairly well in the position. Secondly, when you start pushing into the handstand, it's this part of your palms that you have to feel your body weight in, and you gotta keep your fingers pointed slightly to the side. Don't try to have your fingers completely forward if you don't have enough wrist flexibility. Thirdly, the reason why people fail, even though they probably have enough strength, is that they try to extend their legs too early. You must first get your butt really high in the air and only then start extending. So from here to here, you must keep that rounded hollow body position, which is common for the tuck planche. Only at this point should you start extending your legs. When you try to extend your body too early, you transform the tuck planche press into an advanced tuck planche press or even a full planche press, which very few people have the strength for. If we look at this in slow motion, you can see that my body is still too horizontal for me to be extending my legs, which essentially transforms my tuck planche into an advanced tuck planche right before I start pressing into the handstand. And since I can barely hold a 14 or 15 seconds advanced tuck, there's no way I'll be able to press into the handstand. Finally, if you can't go from the tuck planche to this position, it might just be that you still haven't figured out the straight arm pushing technique. Performing the exercise with slightly bent arms will help, and also performing planche lean presses can really help. Just like in the tuck planche press, you have to focus on loading this part of your palms with your body weight. So if you want, you can do 3 sets of tuck planche presses with slightly bent arms and 3 sets of planche lean presses, and progress to 10 reps on each set. Just don't forget to first get your butt really high in the air and then start extending your legs.